So, should you buy the brand new Superfly 9 or not? Well, that's a pretty good question, especially if you already have the Superfly 8 or the Vapor 14. Now, the easy answer to that question for me would be yes, you should buy it because it is a brilliant football boot. But to be honest, there might be a bit more to it than that, if you're not me. So today I decided to try and help you decide by putting these two boots up against each other to explain some of the differences and also some of the similarities, and hopefully help you try to pinpoint why, or why not, you should buy a Superfly 9 or Vapor 15. Now the links to both of these boots and the Vapor versions are right up there and in the description. Make sure to subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already, and with that said, let's do this. Now, when you look at the two boots a bit from afar, they do admittedly look pretty similar. But the biggest difference between the two actually lies in the outsole, and more specifically this new Zoom Air unit that has been engineered and actually sits as a part of the inner workings of the outsole itself on the Superfly 9. And down here it sits and offers this very unique and slightly squishy but bouncy and almost like really snappy sensation where it gives a little bit of feedback every time you make a step. But in this very unique and extremely comfortable way, that's almost like a fluid integration between your foot and the boot. And I realize it might sound a little hocus pocusy, but it's something you really gotta go and try for yourself. So Nike have made my job of describing what the boot feels like a little bit hard here, but trust me when I say that it feels unique and it feels really good. And admittedly, it might not make you feel as if you're more responsive or really being exploded off the ground, but it still feels fast, and I like that. Now, on the other hand, we have the Superfly 8, which takes a slightly more traditional, at least mercurial approach. It has this anatomical outsole where it makes you feel as if your foot is sinking down into the plate itself, like a sculpted Formula 1 seat where you're just like, and then you're ready for raw, hardcore speed. You're strapped in. That also means that you get a slightly more one-to-one direct sensation with what's going on underneath your foot. And it feels a little bit thinner and marginally closer to the ground, I would say. Maybe in a more direct way at least, compared to the Superfly 9. But regardless, they're both good, so it's about finding out what you prefer and basically what you like the most. Now also the studs on the Superfly 8 here might be, to me at least, a little bit more aggressive, especially when we talk linear acceleration. Now it's a little less so on the Superfly 9 here because of the new stud shape, but the trade-off is that they give you a little bit more of aggressive cutting and turning when you go sideways and have these more angled accelerations in the outsole. And it's a bit of a different focus, but I don't really mind because it still feels really fast, the Superfly 9. So you could say that the Superfly 8 is a bullet train. It goes really fast in a straight line, whereas the Superfly 9 would more be, should we say, a race car. It can still go really fast, but can also turn aggressively on a dime. So again, it's a matter of preference and what you like. And honestly, I know it's the easy thing to say, but they're both just so good. They have wonderful outsoles, two of the best in the game. It's up to you to decide. But when we start looking at the uppers, that is where the similarities really start to show and where you can really tell that the two boots are definitely very much related. So the Superfly 8 here has the so-called Vapor Posit upper that consists of a suede inner liner, then you have a tightened synthetic, basically the collar bits on top, you have a grid-like mesh to give you a little bit of structure, and finally you have, of course, the Flyknit collar here and a silicone protective coating to also apply ACC, because that's important, as you know. Now, the thing with the Superfly 9 is that Nike saw the Vapor Posit upper, they thought it was pretty good, and then they just added a plus to it, and that was a job well done. Now, of course, that's totally a lie, because they did actually make a few changes based on the same concept. So here you get a super thin inner liner. On top of that, you have this thin but also slightly spongy lofted mesh to take away the worst sting when you strike the ball. Then you have Nike's synthetic speed cage that's thin and strong and has cutouts, but only in the places where you don't need structure to give you lockdown. On top of that, you have this textile mesh to give you a little bit of structure and texture in the upper. And finally, of course, you have your Flyknit collar and your silicone coating for protection and ACC. So they're similar, but also different. Let me explain why. This is where I gotta be level with you, because both these two uppers are really, really good. They're very comfortable, they perform well, and I don't think you can get everyone to say that one upper is universally better than the other, because they both rock. With that said though, to me, the Vaporposit Plus upper on the Superfly 9 is just a little bit better than what you find on the 8. Let me tell you why. Because I think that it feels ever so slightly softer, more pliable and malleable in your hands and also on your feet, and still it has this almost premium, luxurious richness to it that just adds a little bit of that elegance on your foot as well. It's a really thin upper, just like the one on the Superfly 8, but I also feel that despite that, it has slightly better, more effective lockdown than the Vaporposit on the Superfly 8. It's also, by the way, 10 grams lighter, which you're probably not gonna feel much of on the pitch, if I'm honest, but I mean, I'll take it. And it only adds to that easy, light sensation that's still relatively snug in the Superfly 9. Now, would I hate my life, if I'm honest, if I had to wear the Superfly 8s for another year? No. No, I wouldn't. And I don't think you would either, because it's still really good. But if I could choose, I take the Superfly 9s. I just think they're, those 10% better. Same, but maybe that lightness and ease on the Superfly 9 comes from the materials and the fact that it feels ever so slightly wider compared to the 8, especially in the midfoot, and also has a little bit more height and volume in the toe box. Now, I put them side to side and took a good hard look at them, but they don't look to be that much wider. It just feels as if there's ever so slightly more stretch or room in the midfoot in the Superfly 9, which means that they might be even easier for people with wide feet to wear than the 8s, which were already really accommodating. But by and large, overall, they do feel relatively similar. They're very comfortable, they're very adaptable, and still they offer this pretty snug, tight fit with a streamlined sensation that makes them feel responsive and speed boot-like enough. Are they like a pair of Vapor 11s? No, but I'd also argue that they're much more comfortable. And that goes for both of them. And finally, there is the touch, which is really, really similar, guys. I mean, we're talking minor differences here, and the biggest difference might be that the Superfly 9s might feel a little bit as if they have more softness and a little bit more of that padded elegance to them because of the lofted mesh liner. But I don't know if anyone but the most hardcore of boot nerds will actually notice this, especially in the heat of a match. So I will say that if you like the Superfly 8 or Vapor 14 that had this really lovely textured matte grip on the ball, were lovely to dribble with, well, it's the same in the Superfly 9, so if you like these, you're also gonna like these. So, to sum it all up, air zoom back, slightly more width in the midfoot, or the feeling of it at least, and a slightly more soft and dampened touch. Those are the basics. Now, I like the changes, which means that I would probably also prefer the Superfly 9s, but I wouldn't hold it against you if you go out and now get one of the many sweet deals on the Superfly 8, now that the Superfly 9 is out. And yes, it is 10 euros more expensive, at least in Europe, and that kind of sucks, but it's also, to me at least, just a 10% better boot, so I'm not that mad at it as I could be. But guys, which of the two boots do you prefer? As always, let me know in the comment section right down below. Remember, of course, that you can buy both the Superfly 9 and 8 and Vapor 14 and 15 via the link to unisportlife.com right over there. Of course, also, make sure you subscribe to the channel with the notifications on, and then maybe hit the playlist if you want to play like a true Mercurial player with some wicked skills. And with those words, I'll be signing off. Cheerio.